Hey guys, and welcome back. In this video we will discuss about the bash variables. Now bash variable is a memory location that is used to contain a number, a character, a string or an array of strings, and there might be many more types of data. Now when we are talking about the variable in bash, there are few things that we need to keep in mind. First of all, there are no data types for a variable, which means when we are doing programming in C or Java, while we are declaring a variable, we have to declare the type of variable as well, like int or string or character. But in case of bash, there are no data types for a variable. So a variable can contain a number, a character, a string, or even an array of strings, and then it can be overridden with any other value, which means, let's say in my example here I have var1 equals sum. Now sum is a string. Now this variable can be overridden with numerical values also. It can be overwritten with digits, or it can be overwritten with characters, and there is no need to declare a variable explicitly. Whenever we assign a value to the reference, variable declaration happens implicitly, which means that you can observe that here I have not declared any variable. All I have done is assign this value to this reference, and the declaration of the variable has been done implicitly, which means I have not declared the variable. You can observe it here. I am just assigning this value to this reference, and the declaration of the variable is being done automatically by bash. Now there are some rules that we need to follow while defining a bash variable. First of all, we should not be using a dollar symbol here in the variable, because we use dollar symbol to get the value of a variable in bash. So don't use a dollar symbol while naming your variable. Then a variable name can be alphanumeric or it can be underscore. Then a variable name is case sensitive, which means this var underscore 3 is different from this var underscore 3, because the first character here is small v and here it is capital V, so they both are different. And when we are assigning some value to a variable, if we are assigning only one value, then we don't have to enclose it within double quotes. But when we are assigning more than one values like this, we are assigning two words to this variable too, so we have to use double quote. Otherwise, if we remove this double quote, then bash is going to assign this sum to variable 2, and then it will interpret text as a command and then will get an error. Then the name of the variable can contain underscore. Then these name are case sensitive, because of that these two are different. We have talked about this earlier also. Now one very important point, that while defining a variable, we should never use a blank space like this. So variable 4 space equals space, then the value, this is going to give us an error. So we should not have a space even before this equal to sign as well as after the equal to sign. Then the name of the variable should not start with a number. Then in the same way, we can assign numbers to the variable and even a character. When we are talking about a character, we should use a single quote. It helps to treat every character. And then this is how we declare or define an array. This array is going to have 3 indices. This will be the 0, this will be 1, this will be 2. So in any programming language, when we are defining a variable, we have to define the data type of that variable at the time of variable declaration. But as we have discussed before, bash variables are untyped, which means we just have to type the variable name by assigning its value, and it will automatically consider that data type. So which means, like here in variable 8, I have assigned a number to this variable 8. So this variable 8 will be considered, or it will work as an integer. Variable 9 has been assigned a character C, so it will work as a string. And then using echo command, we can print whatever is the value the variables are holding. Now let's talk about the types of bash variables that we have. So there are basically two types of bash variables. First one is a system defined variable. Now these are the predefined variables as they are created and maintained by the Linux operating system. Their standard convention is that generally they are defined in capital letters. So whenever you see a variable which is defined in uppercase, you can assume it to be a system defined variable. Now to see a list of these variables in our system, I will type here in the terminal set and then hit enter. Then just scroll to the top and then you can get the list of the system defined variables like this. Bash variable represents the shell name and it will contain the value which is the location of this bash shell. Then we have bash version, which is here, which specifies the shell version that we are working on. In the same way, we have many more system defined variables like this. Columns means the number of columns for our screen, so it is 58 columns now. Then scrolling down below, we have this home variable which specifies the home directory of my user. Then we have host name which specifies the name of the host. Then we have this log name which specifies the logging username. Then scrolling down more, we have this OS type which is Linux GNU. Then we have pwd which is present working directory and it's showing home /tanzil/documents/scripts. If you want to see more system defined variables, then you can type env. Now these are the environment variables. You can see we have the shell. This is the location for shell. We have the log name that we have seen before also. In the same way, there is one more command that you can use, that is print env, and these are the system defined variables that you can have a look at. But anyways, let's now write one example to see how we can obtain the values which these system defined variables are holding. So I'll just clear this out. All right, and here also I need to change this. Now to delete, we have to hit escape, then :D. Now we just have to keep hitting D. All right, then escape I, that is to insert. Now I'm just going to type the script quickly. So this is the script that I have written, and it is going to display the value of the home variable, then the pwd variable, then the bash variable, then bash version, then log name, then OS type, and then username. So let's save it, escape :W, and now let's run it. And now you can see that the home system variable contains this value, that is the location of my home variable. Then this is the present working directory. Then bash contains the location for the bash shell. Then this is the shell version that we are working on. Then this is my login username. Then Linux is the type of operating system. And then currently logged in user is Tanzil. So that's how we can obtain the value of different system defined variables in our bash script. Now the second type of variables are the user defined variables. These variables are created and maintained by the user only. And these variables are defined in lower cases. This is not a rule, but it is a good habit to follow so that we have a clear distinction or a clear difference between the system defined variable as well as the user defined variables. So I'll just write a bash script to show how to work with user defined variables. Alright, so I have written this script. This is for user defined variables. In the first variable, I'm saving a string which is a name. This is my name, so I'm saving Tanzil in a variable whose name of the variable is just name. Then I am saving this value or this string in a variable whose name is channel. Then I'm using echo command to display the content of both these variables together, and both of these are user defined variables because I have defined them. And as we have seen before also, while we are using variables, we should be using double quotes so that we can obtain the value which is being held by this variable. Now let's run this script. escape :w, and it's saved. Let's run it, and you can see this is the message that we are getting after running this script. So it's perfectly fine. So now let's discuss about the working of bash variables. So there are 4 actions that we can perform on a bash variable. The first action is to set the variable. In this example, you can see we are setting the variable with this value. So this is the first action that we can perform. The second action is reading and referencing the variable, which means here we are reading the value which is contained inside the variable. So that is called reading and referencing the variable. The third action is combining 2 string variables together. So I'll just give an example of how to do that. And this is the third action, combine 2 strings. So here you can see I have declared 2 variables. First one is string, second is distance. Both of them contain different values. And then I have used echo command to display the contents of these 2 variables. And I have combined these 2 strings together so that when they are printed, they will be printed as a single string. So let's run this script first. And you can observe that in the first string, they have been combined together and they look like a single string. In the second example, this is the fourth action that we can perform on a variable, which is to concatenate 2 strings. Now here, if you observe, this is just one variable string and it is containing this value. Then we are using echo command, and then we are obtaining the value which is contained in the string variable, and then we have written space, and then we have written some values. So that means we are concatenating 2 different strings here, and this is the final result. We need not do this always in a bash script. We can actually create the variables or work with the bash commands here directly in the terminal. Then let's talk about the global and local variable. Now in bash shell, we have something called as a local variable as well as a global variable. So let me clear out this script first. Alright, now let me clear this terminal also. So now you can observe that in this script, we are going to talk about global versus local bash variables. First of all, I have created a global variable. The name of the variable is var, var, and it is a global variable. And I have given the value also as I am global. Then I have defined a function. Within the function, I have created a local variable. So by using this literal local, I have created a local variable var, which is containing the same name as the global variable. So which means this bash local variable, it is used to override the global variable in local scope, which means this local var is going to override a global variable if there is a global variable which is having the same name as var, like this. If there was no global variable with this name var, or there was some other name of this variable, then this local variable will not override anything in this local scope. But since there is a global variable with the name var, and then there is a local variable with the same name, so the value of the global variable will be overridden within this local scope, which means within these 2 curly braces, the value of the global variable will be overwritten by this value, that is I am local. Then I have used echo command to display the content of the var variable. So it is going to display the content of the global variable. Then I have executed this function. So when this function is executed, it's going to execute this local var, and then it's going to echo the content of the var variable, and this var is the global variable. But since we are inside this local scope and we are using local variable, so the content of this global variable will be overwritten by this value, that is I am local. And then when we come out of this function and then we use the echo command once again, it's going to print this value only. So I don't know if you're getting the point or not, but let's run this script and then let me try to explain it once again. And you can observe that the first echo command has printed this value, I am global. Then after that we have executed this function fun. Now when the function is executed, it's creating a local variable even though it's containing the same name as the global variable. So it's going to overwrite the value of this global variable within this local scope only. So which means outside this function, the value of the global variable will remain as it is, but within this local scope, the value of the var variable will become this, that is I'm local, and hence that is printed here. Then after coming out of this function, when we used echo command once again on this var variable, it is printing this value, I am global. Because this value, that is I am local, it is only for this local scope, not outside this function. So I hope I was able to explain the difference between global and local variable, and I hope you were able to understand the concept of variables. So that's all for this video. If you liked the video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to see you in the next video. In the next video, we are going to discuss command substitution. So thanks for watching.